Welcome to Dunlop Tyre's Targa New Zealand for another year. Every year, this unusual motoring event has grown in stature, attracting more competitors, sponsors and media. To qualify for Dunlop Targa, you need a car prepared to an accepted motor racing standard, including safety equipment for driver and co-driver. There's enough categories in this event to allow almost anything in. And judging by the record lineup this year, anything goes. A reasonable ability to point the car in the right direction at the right time is also helpful, although, let's face it, the spectators aren't here to see you make it round the corner, they want to see you come to grief. Most of all though, you need plenty of passion, because above all else, that's what's most important. Everyone involved in this unique motoring experience is here because they're passionate about cars, be they competitors or officials. Prologue means preface, opening, forward or preliminary part. In every sense of the words, this pre-race warm-up day is a preface to the opening of the preliminary part of Dunlop Targa, so officials can move forward into day one. There's no times allocated, it's just a chance to sort out those niggling engine problems and get used to the car's handling. And judging by some of the early action, there's a definite need for that. New boys on the block this year, Harvey Gray and Keith Mitchell from Whangarei haven't heeded the early warnings about taking it easy in the prologue.
Oh, well, I suppose it's like anything else. It's probably just travel too fast. It was a difficult corner, and it was obvious that someone else had almost gone in there before us. And then after us going in, even slowing down cars, there was one other car almost landed on top of ours. So it was just a tricky corner, I think. Cars would, there's a bit of a, I suppose there's a bit of a, on the approach, just as you turn in, there's a little bit of a hump, and you just tend to get airborne a little bit, or just everything goes light.
Alan Scott from Christchurch is a serious contender in his Mazda RX-7. With the experience of two Targas under his belt, coming to grief before the event proper has begun is a worrying sign. No time to waste though, he'll be back later to pick up his wiper blades. More pressing right now is getting a good time to make sure the RX-7 has a good starting position for tomorrow.
Although I've been away for 20 years, you know, I'm proud to be a New Zealander, and this is home for sure. And I tell you what, when you get out in countryside like today and a day like today, you know, there's no better place in the world, I'm sure of that.
Steve Millen has been lured back from the USA for Dunlop Targa and is not in a hurry to push the XR6 to the limit.
You know, I started out really slow. The first stage I was pretty pathetic. I think my mum probably could have done faster, but it doesn't matter because it doesn't count, like you say, and we're getting quicker and quicker as we go, and the car handles well, brakes very good, handles well. It's not the most powerful car in the world, that's not what it's about. We've got a reliable car, we think, and 6 days of tarmac roads here is hard work on a car. So I expect to be, you know, in a good, strong place at the end of the rally.
Another hot shot from the past, Robbie Francevic, best known for his circuit racing in New Zealand and Australia. A highlight of the Kiwi's career was winning the 1986 Australian Touring Car Championship in the Volvo affectionately known as the Brick.
It's a 69 Pontiac, which is a classic, which is what this event is all about. And of course, what we did to it is turned it into a grunty 69 Pontiac. The engine's got about 730 horsepower, so it's a real handful to hang on to.
And he's not doing too bad hanging on to it so far. The concept of Dunlop Targa is not just about motor racing with all its rules and regulations, time checks and official penalties arriving at a winner. Targa also involves the communities. After all, it's their roads that are being closed to allow the event to take place.
What we do is we incorporate the communities, and the local school put on the lunches, and we have what we call a special control. And when we see one of those controls, it might not be lunchtime, but it's a school or a community, and we have to stop and give them coin, which means we've got to give them $2, and then they stamp our route book, and if we don't do that, we get penalised.
There's no sign of the sun peeking over the hills surrounding Hotel Divan Redcliffe Winery, nestled in the foothills of Maungatautari, south of Auckland. In reality, the only real sign we've got this morning is from the looming clouds. Rain has been forecast today, and it looks set to be accurate on the first day of Dunlop Targa.
Major problem, fuel gauge isn't working.
Alistair Corbett from Dunlop Tyres flags away the first of 160 entries in this year's event. Over the last 6 years, the event has spread quickly in popularity, resulting in the record field covering 9 categories of classic, contemporary and modern cars. There's something here to interest everyone. While organisers emphasise there is no overall winner in Dunlop Targa, if the past is anything to go on, there will be plenty of people huddling in corners, working out if their classic is quicker than someone else's modern category car. There's competitions amongst competitions. First stage of the day is 8Ks to Mercer. The temperature from the overnight low has not increased much, and the drizzle is having trouble deciding what it wants to do. There's surprisingly little action early on. Yesterday's offs have obviously hit home. Steve Millen is settling in the red XR6.
2, 1, go. First instruction at 1.5, it's a caution at the end of a straight. First 2Ks are fast and open, then it closes a bit.
He's taking it cautiously, although I doubt whether his mother would be out driving him today. The XR6 was built in Australia by Tickford, Ford's associated specialty engineering company building the popular XR6 and XR8.
500 metres to the first caution. It's a sweeping right. This is it. It's a sweeping right. Road tightens now.
And the familiar voice from the co-driver's seat is from Classic Hits Radio's Brian Kelly. Expat Kiwi Millen has been successfully carving out a niche for himself with his still-in range of automotive aftermarket products in the USA. Brother of another famous Millen, Dirt Rally Master Rod, Steve gained recognition for his exploits on tarmac, circuit racing just about everything possible.
The road is deceiving all the way.
Special Stage 4 at Glen Murray provides interesting yumps. Call it a yump or a hump, it's just one of those conditions in the road surface sent to test the car's handling and the driver's reflexes. Our first casualty in Dunlop Targa, the brown 1965 Ford Anglia of Brett Hansen and Derek Hobbs. Their first Targa in 3 years ends quickly, but the Hamiltonians are okay and they haven't got far to get home for repairs. It's a sign of things to come if the weather is to stay this way. Robbie Francevic, the self-confessed larrikin of motorsport a decade or so ago, has lost nothing of his ability with the wheel.
up the pace a little, but that's mainly me. It's mainly me. I'm just starting to read the roads now, and give me another couple of days and we should be right, but I don't want to drop too far behind. Circuit racing is really it. Yeah. But, you know, like, I'm the best there is, but unfortunately in rallying I'm not, because I'm not a rally driver, am I? I'm a race driver.
And he's obviously not lost his way with words either.
Yeah, we got to go up maybe 2 pounds or even 4 pounds. Yeah. All right.
He might be driving a car twice the weight of Millen's Falcon XR6 and giving away more than 30 years of technological advancement, but Francevic is still feeding it to the big GTO with times almost identical to Millen. Fortunately for Millen, today the XR6 needs nothing more than a compulsory wash. As the rain eases, teams come and go from the lunch stop. The Aussies in the Lotus Elise haven't started out too well, but have made it this far.
Last night we dropped a tail shaft at the start and didn't even go. And then we flew one in from Australia, didn't get it till 9 o'clock this morning, and we just got to the start.
By special stage 5, the rain seems to have gone and the roads are drying out. Cars are starting to get up on the pace. Dunlop Targa presents plenty of vantage points for spectators to witness the skills, or otherwise, of the drivers. Motorsport can be an expensive exercise and often won by the biggest checkbook. To keep a lid on cost, organisers have restricted the use of tyres to just 6 for the duration of the event. Teams need to do everything possible to be sure they have enough rubber left to finish the event. Some are a little bizarre and certainly not down to earth.
We only allowed 6 tyres on Targa, so occasionally we put it up on 2 wheels just to save the pair that are up in the air, you know. So.
Now this is an interesting little car that confused us totally yesterday, John.
Late in the day, the warnings to drivers go unheeded. The popular spot near Rotorua at Danzi's Road Corner is well known in Targa circles, but it still catches the best of them.
We were there on that corner last year and saw everybody else have their accidents, and should have known better, eh? I thought I was going slow, but boy, it was slippery and just would not turn.
But Don's in good company on the final corner of the last stage of the day. Watching Michael Diaz's Commodore is very much a sensual experience. You hear the throaty roar and brakes of the Jaffa racing team coming. You smell the fuming engine when it does arrive. And if you're lucky, you can still see it through the mixture of tyre and engine smoke when it leaves. These guys might be Kiwis, but driving the good old Aussie Commodore, they're the battlers. And don't we all love battlers? Hard-charging Roger Townsend from Christchurch overcooking in the same spot.
It's a case of being told by about 5 people before we entered the stage to watch out for that corner, and we stuck it in anyway, so that's not very good.
And yes, this is Alan Scott's RX-7 going in for a second time in as many days. Co-driver Roger Oakley from Dunedin's none too pleased with his boss's idea about stopping to let him out to inspect the damage. Stuck precariously on the inside of what is already a bad corner, frantic efforts are made to clear the path for oncoming cars. Eventually, the front end is cleared of dirt and steering restored. The South Islanders are on their way, down on time and luck, it would seem. It must be a rotary thing. Here's another RX-7. All in all, a mixed result for day one. Generally, things have gone pretty well, despite the rain. Well until late in the day, that is.
Here, we're going to put the drink on.
Amongst the multitude of work being carried out behind race headquarters at the Quality Inn, the pit stop mechanical report looks like this at the end of day one. Car number 466, Paul Forsyth's MGB GT V8, out with a blown engine after one day's competition. 557, Jeff Judd's Ford Escort RS 1800, out with gearbox problems. A similar fate for Mark Piddock's Ford Thunderbird, car number 390, gearbox problems. Turner's car auction crash report at the end of day one. 4:30, Clyde Walters 75 Ford Cortina, the first of many offs, just a minor one. 2:35, the 65 Ford Anglia, out of the event, not quite so lucky. And car number 560, the 77 Datsun, took out 43 metres of fence and then paid the farmer to have it fixed. The Nava highlight for the best action caught on camera could go to any of the players at the bottom of Special Stage 10. But today's Nava goes to Neil McFarquhar, who gets loose as a goose. Slips and slides on both sides of the grass before clipping a culvert and barrel rolling. Both he and co-driver walk away from the Ford Laser, but their Targa ends before it's begun.
It was terrible because you had a camera car following me, and I am an egotistical showman. And plus, they shouldn't have those acute right-hand turns where they have all the crowd, because I spun it in a big way.
Whereabouts was that?
I don't know, but I don't want to remember it because it was a magic stage and I was going so quick.
Yeah. How's the day wrapped up apart from that then?
Yeah, great. We got through the first day and did some pretty good times. Pretty happy.
Yep.
And now the boys will rebuild the car and I'll go and get some sleep because I'm an old man, and we'll see what happens tomorrow.
So when they talk about this being a classic event, they mean that in more than just the sense of the car?
Do they what?
It's collateral damage that's usually the problem.
Day two hasn't even got underway, and the Mini of Don and Melissa Bell is in trouble.
We were coming up the road and the clutch stopped working. So we think we've broken the diaphragm on the clutch. So we've sent our support car back to get a trailer and haul us back into Rotorua, and we'll be back on the road this afternoon.
Deja vu as a second Mini is spotted just down the road. Must be a day of blues for the Minis.
See anything there? Oh, that's what you up on the bonnet there.
With the clock ticking, efforts are frantic to get the Mini back on all four and into the first special stage. Breakfast this morning is at Te Wa'autu School at the end of Special Stage 11.
Great McMuffins, the best in the world.
The whole community has turned out, including the kids, to dish up a morning feast for competitors.
Right there?
It's also the obligatory donation, this time for the school. And look out if any competitor forgets to drop a gold coin in the bucket. Just down the road is Special Stage 12. It's not a good start for Rob Penny and Ryan Leggett, a puncture right on the start line. Others take off around them. Including Ray Williams from Tasmania, flying the flag for classic Australian cars in the E.H. Holden. Ted Rolliston hails from Britain and is driving what you'd expect any civilised Englishman to drive, an E-Type Jaguar. He's been powering around Dunlop Targa with what looks like little regard for the rare car's value.
Hollywood.
Well, it's very quick in a straight line, and of course it's up to the steering wheel attendant to get it round the corners.
While most of us would hide such a unique car away in the garage to save getting it scratched, Ted would rather get it out on the road and show it off to everyone he can find, such as the pride of this cat owner.
It's a car that was built on a chassis number 27 E-Type, or rebuilt on it to this shape, as you see, which is a replica shape of the Lindner Knocker lightweight. This is not a lightweight, it's a competition. It's on a steel monocoque. It's got a steel block rather than an alloy block, and it's not particularly light.
The E-Type is safe from Special Stage 12, but not so for Kim Walker and Rosalind Jane in their 1963 MGB. They exit the track in exactly the same place Gary Firth's E-Type left the road and burned to the ground this time last year. Fortunately, the pair is okay.
We got airborne coming up over that hill. When it came down, it was sitting at an angle, so we shot off the road, hit the bank here on the right-hand side of the road, and then hit this culvert.
With a little help from the local farmer whose fence they've just destroyed, the MG is salvaged and will live to race again tomorrow with a bit of luck. Expat Charlie McFarquhar's pristine Anglia is a shining example of a family saloon that graced the roads of New Zealand in another era. Charlie, already used to two wheels on the air, gets more than he bargains for when pilot Don Ruby takes to the air again, this time with somewhat less control and what looks like a barrel roll.
That's the of it.
Sorry about that, Charlie.
That's the end of it. I think, well...
Sorry, Charlie. Try and get that zip cord.
Remarkably, the car is hardly damaged, and they gather themselves together and move on. Just up the road, everyone's having varying degrees of difficulty with a left-hander into Derby Road. In typical style, Phil Vandermeer is just showing off to the crowd. Roger Townsend shows being a new boy in Targa is no disadvantage to getting around. Some, like the boys in the +8 Morgan, are pleased to get around just in one piece. And the odd one, well, just gets it completely wrong.
It's us. It's us. Oh, just a bit overconfident, I think. You know, just going a little bit too hard and just touched the brakes a bit too late there. You know, or a bit too late. Yeah, that was it really. A bit disappointing, but that's motor racing. Oh yeah, definitely salvageable, but I'm quite lucky. I'm in the process of building another one for next year, so I suppose it's one bonus. But hey, I'd still rather be there at the end. So you know, it's just life, isn't it? You know, it goes on.
Whatever the reason for going in, Sutcliffe can settle back and watch the rest of the field race on by. The Aussies with the Lotus Elise, Peter Hobson and Doug Fernie, are having a ball on their first Targa.
First call, 4K. It's a 2 right, hard to see.
With their drive shaft problems behind them, the Sydney Siders are using the Elise for what it's best used for. Very fast open-air motoring through the classic Kiwi countryside. Just a couple of great Aussie blokes out for a spin in their modern classic.
All right, gather it up. Okay, no problem. All right, calm down, let's go.
Neil Fraser builds a mean race car. The Aucklander prides himself on beautifully prepared Fraser V6s. This the most recent off the production line, looking remarkably like another popular open-wheeler. The eye-catching Roadster was looking good until this.
We knew that there was a corner just over it. We came over the brow and the front end unloaded, and as it's been doing, but when I went to turn in there was just no one home, so the choices were to sort of back it in or to straighten the wheel and head through that blooming awful fence up there. And so we did head first down there, and then of course as they do, they accelerate down the hill, and we missed this tree here by, you know, like less than an inch, so it could be worse.
The agony of seeing your pride and joy perch precariously amongst the trees is only heightened by the thought of the hours and hours of blood, sweat and tears that have gone into building it.
That car represents the last 4 months of heart and soul, real hard work to get it here, and breaks your heart. But we'll be back. We just need some more wishbones and some more parts. We've already rung the workshop and got them busy. So be it.
With the resources of his workshop, Fraser will rejoin Dunlop Targa before the week is out.
Just lucky.
Metal truck.
Need to be.
I think you want a winch, you want something anchored up.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if we go back, I'll go back and talk to him.
Temperature, you're overheating. Oh, shit. Smells hot too. Oh, there's a finish. No, it's not. It's not the finish, no. You know, they've got 3k to go. 5k to go.
We're out of water. Are we? We're out of water?
Yep. She's on. I'd flag it and think, Mike, it's not worth it.
Mike Tubbs has a problem. The 325i BMW is overheating. What's he to do? Stop at a farmer's gate for a bucket of water? Oh no, not Mike.
Yeah, the fan belt itself, which drives your alternator and your power steering, has failed. So I just need to know which is the one we released to get the tension back on again.
There's no doubt the mobile phone has revolutionised the world.
He's going to go and check under a bonnet of a car and then we'll be right.
But replacing your backup on the road mechanics, we're not so sure.
Yep, I'm listening.
Inside the little tension pulleys,
Yeah.
you put the centre cap on, the little covering cap inside there.
There's one of the tension pulley has got an oval dome in the middle of it. Is that with an off-centre bolt in it? Is that the one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no cap on it.
It's no cap on it, of course, but it's just got a bolt there with an oval, with an off-centre hole in it. That was Dial a Mechanic. They're always available. They're always available 24 hours a day. I know nothing about this car apart from the basics. So every time something does need doing to it, it's a new experience which I have to then indulge in. And it's a wonderful thing to have coverage on a cell phone at this point in the country.
By the time Dunlop Targa has run its day by the banks of the Waikato River, attrition has taken its toll. The remaining field made up of those in for the long haul. Amongst them, Jaffa Racing, still smoking its way to the finish. No such problems for Steve Millen, who's powering the XR6 Falcon along in the top 3 of his class. The mover and shaker, though, is Anton Tallett, who pulls time on everyone to move to within seconds of Peter Johnson's Metro 6R4, the modern category leader.
First place overall doesn't really count officially in Targa, but it's always nice to try and beat the car that's leading, and we started the day 25 seconds behind the MG Metro, and by the end of the day we finished 6 seconds behind it, so we're taking out time in every stage yesterday. Second to last stage we pulled 8 seconds out of it, so I was very pleased. It was the only stage I tried hard to win, so quite happy about that.
Renowned for rattling the shingle on the edges of the tarmac is Mark Parsons. Having competed in every event to date, he's as colourful a character as his car. Appropriately named Skid Mark, Parsons is usually never shy on shedding rubber for the public, but to date has been battling with a couple of problems.
We've had some good moments on entry into corners this morning where maybe I got caught out a little bit, and the rear brakes really did the job we usually like them to do, and they lock up, and that allows us to turn the car into the corner. And we've had a couple of little dramas this morning, and some maybe some black marks left on the road, but the brakes saved, so that issue's resolved. I'm more than tickled pink with that. We've got a bit of a trouble. It's jumping out of 5th gear on the odd occasion, and Mel has to hold it in. And we've had a bit of a communication problem where I've sort of said, you know, hold it in, and then I've changed my mind, and I've just about broken his thumb. Getting it out of fifth gear back into fourth and sort of thing. And we've gone around a couple of corners in neutral, and this isn't really conducive to good times or safety, but we hope to, it's a problem we can't fix at all actually, so we just have to live with that, and just another one of Targa's challenges.
The pit stop mechanical report at the end of day 2. Mike Tubbs in the BMW 325i. Well, fan belt and suspension problems, but thankfully nothing that the cell phone mechanic couldn't fix. Bob Boniface in the Ford Sierra Cosworth had suspension problems in car number 656. We'll be here all day dealing with the Turner's car auction incident report, but the best of the worst or the worst of the best, depending on how you look at it. Donald Webster's 94 Peugeot took out a fence another 10 metres, adding to the total. 809 left the road and headed into the trees. And another 3 metres of fence went down with Alan Scott on the red RX-7. And you could throw a blanket over the Nova highlights, a half dozen spins, some tree pruning, to say nothing of a rollover. But our money's on Peter Sutcliffe for sticking it in right beside the camera. And then forgetting that cameras do have microphones. The EH Holden is probably not thought of as a classic in New Zealand, but for Tasmanians Ray Williams and Robert Taylor, their EH is all classic. Veterans of the Targa Tasmania, they've spread their wings in search of something different in Dunlop Targa in the Shaky Isles.
I just love EHs. I've owned that car 30 years and I shouldn't really be jeopardising the thing, but I did it up probably 10 years ago and thought, what now? And decided to enter it in Targa Tasmania, and here I am in New Zealand. We've had a few minor things, you know, parts of the exhaust have fallen off and we sprung a water leak and the gearbox wanted to fall off the back of the engine, but I mean, you just fix those. They haven't been terminal. We've fixed them in the time we've had and we're still going, and with a bit of luck, we reckon we'll be there on the Sunday evening. I find the roads here seem to have more grip. The bitumen is fairly coarse in its construction, and the roads just seem to have more grip. We have got some Dunlop tyres on, and that's the first time I've tried them, and I guess they've been very good as well. So that's one of the things I've noticed.
Why we good old Aussie icon.
And if you think Targa comes from Australia, then think again. The original event was Italian and began in 1905 with the inaugural Targa Florio. This event was won by Alessandro Cogno with an average speed a shade under 45 kilometres per hour. Almost a century later, you've probably got to add another 100 to that figure. The name Targa actually means plate or plaque and represents the trophy awarded to the winner. Targa Florio ran continuously until 1973. And if you're wondering where information like this surfaces, then check out New Zealand Classic Car magazine. Editor and scribe Alan Walton wishes he had $1 for every time someone re-quotes this information. The check's in the mail, Alan. One man who wasn't around when Targa Florio began was Mark Parsons, but he has been in every Dunlop Targa and appreciates the opportunities provided by the public and regulatory bodies in New Zealand.
Targa is just such a fantastic event. We're very lucky to be able to close off public roads here in New Zealand, and we've got to be very appreciative of the public support we get for doing that. And we just are able to sort of enjoy our cars in the situation that they were built for. Overseas, and I've just been overseas for a year and a half, and they can't close public roads over there. So we're very lucky in the Southern Hemisphere with Australia and New Zealand to be able to do that. And it's just fantastic. We've just had some fantastic stages today, and we had some awesome ones yesterday. It's just so good to be able to drive the roads with no one sort of worrying about speed and regulations and so forth like that. It's great. An ex-factory car from England, Triumph TR7 with Rover V8 engine. And it's been in New Zealand since 1985, and I've now owned it about 12 years.
Parsons is on track for a class win in the Triumph. The classic category is for the taking if he keeps it on the road. It's everything Chris Floyd can do to stay on the road. The 1955 MGTF suffering ongoing niggling fuel problems.
Just basically under full power, we're struggling to actually get some fuel through to the engine. So we started at the carburetor and we've worked backwards, looking for the fault. And what we think it is, perhaps a little bit of crud or something in the fuel line at the tank. Yeah.
It's not as bit clean in there, is it?
Yeah, it is really frustrating because we've toured all right. You get to the special stages and we get probably 3/4 of the way through the stage and we're going really fast and hard, and the engine's just not getting the fuel it needs. So, yeah.
Time-wise, out in front is husband and wife Anton and Ann Tallett in the Mazda RX-7. Maybe it's a bit unfair to pit old classics against the modern technology available today, but that doesn't seem to worry anyone out here. There might not be any overall times officially recorded, but they're still all checking out each other's times.
Very good. We're pretty fast.
Oh, okay.
It's just a bit fastest overall between us and the Metro, and we're gaining quickly. He's a four-wheel drive and he's much lighter.
Yeah. Oh, so things are going pretty well.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes it quite exciting, doesn't it?
It's very exciting.
The Metro 6R4 of Peter Johnson is considered modern, but it's really a specially prepared all-wheel drive race car. You can't help but think PJ and his son Hayden have got an advantage, but that's not fazing anyone, especially the contemporary category leaders, the Tallets, who are hunting down the father and son team in the Metro.
It's over 6 days. There's 1,300 kilometres of touring and 600 kilometres of closed roads. Main competition.
All along the rally route, special vantage points are established where the public can view proceedings. There's even the odd bit of commentary thrown into the mix in some places just to add to the atmosphere.
That's 340, which does a very graceful pirouette, and yes, we're going to get there one day. What a history and character for the product itself. This will take a little break. This is the left towards Mexico, I think. 408, fairly long way around the corner. This car's got revolutionised rally.
Being on time is essential in Dunlop Targa, not just for the competitors but for everyone involved. When you consider how many roads are being closed to the public to allow this event to operate successfully, you can only imagine the logistics of coordinating the many facilities interrupted by the rally. Take, for instance, school buses travelling along the rally route picking up and dropping off kids. Every one of them must be timed to create the least disruption to everyone's daily life.
You can safely assume that. The last one will be the red Porsche at 512.
We're escorting these buses out, which is part of our assistance to help the local communities because they've given us the road. So we're stopping the rally, and there's 2 buses here from the school. We're going to take one out this way and one against the traffic. Before we do that, I'm running a safety check to make sure we've seen all the cars through and there's no chance of any traffic coming towards us.
With the kids safely delivered home from school, the rally continues. From Arapuni this morning, Dunlop Targa has wound its way around the bottom of Lake Rotorua and east towards Whakatane, via the Kaingaroa State Forest, in all a total of 12 special stages. Just getting to the final special stages is creating a challenge in itself, an unrelated motoring accident providing an obstacle for the leaders to contend with. Fortunately, no one is hurt in the fire, which destroyed this Nissan ZX300, a classic in its own right, in a future time. Nelson Marshall in the V6 Capri is straightening out every corner he can in a bid to peg back the leaders. Hard on his heels, the escorts of Targa rookies Roger Townsend and fellow Cantabrian Jeff Judd. Contemporary rally leader Craig Coleman sets up his Impreza STI well for the corner and hopefully a class win. Clyde Walters Mark III looks like any ordinary old Cortina that the folks down the road might own. Might be worth checking if they've still got it, because the way he's driving, you'd think it was stolen. Robbie Francevic's been peddling the big Pontiac around the special stages with consummate ease. The American muscle car turning in times expected of much nimbler, faster cars. Unfortunately, the worship and adulation of the locals wasn't enough to prevent the inevitable mechanical problems that would slow the Aucklander down.
Well, I could feel it. We were doing about 280, and with this vibration was coming in, if it locks up at this speed, I'm history. So that's why we didn't want to start the next stage. We'll get it fixed and come back and finish with a bang.
Indeed, Robbie's team found another similar gearbox in a car in a showroom in Christchurch. It was unbolted, air freighted to Auckland and found its way all the way to Whakatane to get Robbie back on the track. In the pit stop mechanical report, problems too for car number 510, Sam Barnes with differential problems. Ivan Bevins in the Ford Falcon GT had problems with the valves, and a drive shaft was the problem for Peter Knight's Renault 5 Gordini, car number 581. In the Turner's car auction crash report, the organisers expected day 3 to have the least pranks, and they're right. Only one of note, but Racing Ray Williams won't admit to exactly who was driving, he or Paul, when they took out 14 metres of fence plus a letterbox in special stage 26. The Nava highlight for day 3 goes to PJ in the Metro 6R4 and Mark Parsons in the TR7 for braving the pall of smoke pouring from the burning wreck of the Nissan ZX 300. Shades of the movie Days of Thunder. Eat your heart out, Tom Cruise. Word has it the end of the first special stage today is a little tricky, with the final corner into the finishing line tightening more than drivers will expect. Even the camber of the road looks like it's pushing cars to understeer. We could be in for some fun. And sure enough, we don't have too long to wait. Campbell Robertson is up the creek. And no, that's not a paddle. Crewman Ian Robertson is heading back to the main road to warn others of the potential danger.
Here, I'll take it if you like. You have a bit of relax.
Came into the finish corner too fast. Got the back end out into the grass and lost it from that point on. Couldn't get it back. Tried hard. I think it went over once and ended up in the drain.
Both drivers are okay, but such is the impact of the roll that the Fiat 124 Sport Spider is a write-off. Remember the humble Fiat Bambina? Well, this is sort of one, at least a souped-up version of it anyway, and a Bath Berliner Corsa. If you think that's hard to say, imagine driving it like this. It's a credit to Mike Lowe and Philip Sutton that the smallest race car in the field is handling so well. Darren McDonald, chasing hard on their heels with the camera on board, has a few problems of his own in trying to follow the Abarth through Special Stage 34. The handling on his RS 1800 Escort not quite up to the smaller, perhaps more nimble Fiat. Apart from the escort, everyone else seems to make the corner without too much difficulty. Well, maybe not everyone. In what's often seen as a man's world, Petra Bates and her daughters stand up to be counted. Surprisingly, on checking, the field of 160 entrants boasts 38 female drivers and co-drivers. Petra can obviously handle the big car, and she knows all about it too.
It's a 59 Ford Thunderbird running a 460 cubic inch or 7.1 litre with a 6-speed Richmond box behind it. So top speed we don't know, in excess of 250k. We hopefully will get over 200k on some of these stages today.
2k to go.
Racing must be in the blood, as Petra's son is a junior champion rally driver. Racing's in the blood, but is winning.
But I'm not a winner. I'm not driving a car to, I suppose it could quite possibly be a winner, but I definitely just like to make a statement, and I'm of an era where V8s are definitely like rotaries are to the younger ones today. V8s are to me, and that rules. So I just love the exhaust note. I love listening to them. I think they're beautiful cars.
From mother and daughter to father and son, Clive and Darren North and their 69 Mustang. When it comes to classic, the US muscle car is as classic as it gets. They previously ran a Nissan Sentra Cup car, but decided the Muzzy was more appropriate to the Targa.
Well, I think it's just that this is a classic event, and we just felt that to have a nice old classic car at an event like this was just the right thing. So hence the old Mustang was pulled out of the garage. It's a great event to do because everybody sort of talks and friendly, and it's just, there's no aggro in the whole event. It's just a great fun event to do, especially good to do with your son. I mean, it's pretty important for me.
At the front of the pack, Anton and Ann Tallett are holding on to their lead. although only just it seems.
Whole corner's covered in oil. We went up the bank, bent the front suspension in the right hand a little bit. It's not going to cost us our lead, but it's going to put us back quite a bit. Mainly damaged the front suspension a little bit, but it's repairable.
Next in, Craig Coleman in the Subaru Impreza.
Never saw any.
No oil?
No oil.
You had a good run through there?
Hell of a good run. It's tricky. It wasn't used last year. The stage wasn't used last year, but that was my first year. May have been before, but a little bit slippery, like large stones on the road where corners have been cut, but didn't see any oil.
Don't know who's got the good oil on this story, but it makes a good one either way. One thing is unaltered, the talents are leading their class with the fastest time of any car so far.
Metres to intersection right, 400, 300, right.
By the end of the day, Old Coach Road at Special Stage 41 is the place to be. There's people everywhere, and for good reason. This is where the action is expected. Dunlop Targa doesn't disappoint. Good old Clyde at it again in the Mark III Cortina. Racing Ray Williams, eager to impress the crowd, turns it on and the car around a couple of times before being on his way. Everyone has a different way to attack the same corner. Fortunately, the mayhem doesn't create too much long-term damage, but certainly plenty of excitement for the crowd.
This happens to be one of his favourite.
So with the next car coming in. Colours.
Finally, a Porsche goes off. Today, they all seem to have been driven like it's a Sunday afternoon, but then today's Saturday, so that probably explains it.
Now, notice what's happening now, folks. The triangles are being placed out on the road. When an accident happens, such as this, notice the driver's now holding out OK. But the early car is able to proceed. If there's a problem, and it's compulsory in cars that there has been a problem.
The pit stop mechanical report at the end of day 4. Mike Fair in the Toyota Levin was having oil pressure problems, car number 683. Clive Newman's Datsun 260Z, fuel problems. And Mike Tubbs back on the cell phone in the BMW 325i, reporting in oil pressure problems, day 4. The Turner's Car Auction crash report. Rob Douglas's 91 Morgan Plus 8 missed a corner and went bush. Graham Collett in the MGB GT V8 lost control on a corner. And we've just seen the Porsche of Will Salas take out the fence. Extra points are awarded for taking out the Targa sign as well. Plenty of drivers saw plenty of action today, but none quite like the view from Campbell Robertson in the Fiat 124 Sport Spider at the end of Special Stage 34. Up the creek and without a paddle.
475.
Yeah, I'll take it if you like. You have a bit of relax.
475.
Competitors have come from all over the world for Dunlop Targa, and often for very different reasons. For Doug Meatham and Bob English, it's a long way from Canada. But after shipping their Volvo halfway around the world for Targa Tasmania, it's not too much further to Targa New Zealand.
Well, we came looking for the best Targa events in the world. And we started with Targa Tasmania, and while we were there, we were introduced to Targa New Zealand by a competitor here. And we kept in touch during the time we went back to Canada, and he convinced us that this was an event we had to do, and based on the reputation of the event, we had to come back. The car sat on the dock in Melbourne for quite some time. It was a several-month interval between Tasmania and here. And when the timing was right, we shipped the car here. We were very fortunate to find good local folks who looked after the car and prepared it. And we flew in and picked up the car and started the event. They're very different events. Remarkably enough, as intense as they both are, they have different characters. This is much, much faster. The roads are faster. The stage times are faster. The Tasmania is a bit tighter. It's a bit more closely organized. They're very different events with different characters, which is why you need to do them both to understand them. The Volvo was my midlife crisis. It's a 1971 Volvo that was found with very few original miles, and we took 3 years to build it into a rally car. It is actually a gravel rally car. It's not meant for Targa style racing, but we've come here because this is the best in the world, and so we'll make a few sacrifices and a few compromises, and we're glad to be here.
Hard left was the instruction for Special Stage 46 on the final day of Dunlop Targa, but it went unheeded. Craig Shepherd somehow missing the call. The Subaru Legacy ploughs on in.
We thought that the road went left. The road did go left. We were going in way too quick. Put the brakes on, nothing happened. Sort of looked at throwing it left into the corner. There was a big concrete lamppost on the outside, so I figured, well, straight ahead. Smashed a headlight, knocked another light out, which we managed to retain. Fortunately, there was a huge number of people there, and they were able to help us backwards up the hill, lift all the fence, and away we went. Lost a couple of minutes.
One in, all in are the team orders, and Julie Samet from Wellington nearly sticks the sister car in exactly the same spot.
I gather that, so it was like lemmings over the cliff almost. Yeah, basic driver error. Too fast, road was wet.
The all-girl team, Jolene Simpkin and Sue O'Neill, managed the corner in their RX-7, but can't quite keep the popular sports car on the straight and narrow. And remember the HSV Commodore you hear, smell and sometimes see? Well, they've done something because there's no blue smoke out the back. According to the official record of maintenance, almost everything's been replaced, including the engine finally, which explains why the Aussie V8 has lost its telltale vapour trail.
So we're just going back and breaking it again now.
It's just a list of things that are broken.
Michael Diaz and Stuart Goldstone and the Jaffa Racing team are in the event for the fun of it. And in fairness, we should probably point out that not everything has been replaced on the RBR prepared VS.
There's no rivers round here.
Aaron there. Aaron.
This team has everything in backup, even their own bit of... is that fluff or a custom toilet seat cover? When the Ford Capri first arrived in the 70s, it was a head spinner. The sleek lines of the English fastback and the throaty roar of the V6 made it a popular choice. Nelson Marshall thinks so anyway, and with his major sponsor, that's Marshall Transmissions, he's another who enjoys his car and turns it on for the crowd.
People go out to watch rallying to see a bit of action and try and put it on for them. Plus, you've got to try and be straight, keep it on the road, and we're winning our class by about 4 miles, and pretty well overall. So we're combining the two quite well this year. We've got a new engine in the car, which I've built up, and it's running well. We did well in Targa Tasmania this year. We won our class over there, fastest international competitor, and we were winning the division until the last day. The guy stuck in by 20 seconds and just beat us. Winning is not really a big deal. I just go out there to play. You go out and have skids in a rally car. If you happen to win, great. But I'm not going to break down and cry if someone beats me. We're trying to push Parsons hard enough to go off, and we're 3 minutes ahead of the BDA, and we took another minute out of him today, so we're trying to get the division.
In Special Stage 47, the hospitality tent has been set up strategically for best view. In normal circumstances, it would be anyway, but the addition of a little Waikato rain is a bit of a bonus, and this corner is Spin City. Cars are going everywhere, and there's not really a better place to be. Mike Tubbs in the BMW. Hang on to the cell phone, Mike. And the car as well. Never shy of the media, Ray Williams. Not to be confused with the Aussie Ray Williams, and the EH is putting on a show. Just a little squirt on the corner for the crowd, and we're off. Right off the road, that is.
The trouble is, when you see a camera, you've just got to put a little bit of a show for everybody, you know? Like, we had a bit of an off the day before with the brake problems and everything else. Today, nice and wet, but we'll slow right down for the camera, put it into first gear, and we're going to do a neat big smoky, but got away on me, didn't it? Yep. What can I say? Driver error. Fabulous team, fabulous car. It's as strong as anything. They just keep fixing it up. Steering's right, everything's okay. We're just putting the fiberglass back together and we're back into it again. So now it's just cruise to the finish and just hope to get there in one, well, not in one piece anymore. The car's in lots of little pieces, but this is very much an endurance event.
There's an old adage in motorsport, to get yourself on TV, you've either got to win or do something silly. Well, Racing Ray didn't win today. Christchurch's Jeff Judd is another who's hardly camera shy. After dropping out of contention early on, he's been out to have fun and to entertain.
See guys in these old cars being driven in sort of the, I guess, the spirit that they were meant to be driven. And everyone loves the noise of the old BDA engines and the scream and the revs they pull, and sideways and all the rest. So yeah, it's great. I love driving it, and I love turning it on. Hospitality corner comes up really fast, and we sort of came in the opposite way sideways and flicked it down the hill and lost it, but the crowd loved it, so who cares?
Up where things are more serious, they're just as wet, but Anton Tallett, quickest and contemporary and heading for overall fastest time, is revelling in the slippery conditions.
Quite a lot of wet out there. I like the rain better than the dry, so I'm enjoying it today. Moves around a lot more on the road, which makes me feel more comfortable. I can feel it into the slides, and it's very controllable. The Dunlops that we're using are brilliant. They really do. They don't let go in a mad rush. They just a nice controlled slide.
Should be mud now, 3.4.
When it's gripping to the road, and in some cases it will let go, it will snap and it might spin. In the case of a front wheel drive, if you button off the power, it'll spin. Rear wheel drives, of course, if we button off, some of them will spin, some of them will bite back in and get traction again. I like it where you can actually feel it moving, so that if it starts to move, it's nice and controlled, and you don't have that snapping motion where all of a sudden it's doing something you don't want it to do.
Craig Coleman, chasing hard on his heels, is also leading the contemporary rally category, but he trails the talents overall by seconds.
A little rain dance this morning, like obviously it suits my car. The Subaru is just fantastic in the wet, and yeah, we're quite happy with the situation, but I can see why others aren't. Well, class is a major feature in this type of event because, you know, it is that type of event. You've got the classics, you know, and they have to be recognised because of this event, and it's really crucial. It is the most crucial part of the event, in my opinion, is the overall for class, but to have an overall for the whole lot, I think is very important.
One man who's not here to win as much as check out the countryside is Steve Horn. Like Steve Millen, he's an expat living in the US, involved in professional motor racing, most notably in IndyCar racing.
I sold Tasman 18 months ago to Jerry Forsyth, who also owns another team in America. I worked for him for a year, and then really just decided to have some time away from real serious motorsport. I've been doing it for 25 years, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and you know, bought a home in Waiheke and spending more time in New Zealand, and really enjoying it.
Good opportunity to see a bit of New Zealand through Targa?
Absolutely. That's the thing that's probably surprised me the most, is how much pleasant scenery we've seen, parts of New Zealand I've never seen before, and I've really enjoyed that part of it, actually.
How serious a drive is this for you, as opposed to maybe just a bit of a cruise in the country?
Oh, I think any time you get behind the wheel, it's serious. But you know, I realise I'm not a professional driver by any means. It's just something fun to do. I'm kind of surprised myself how well we're doing just in the stock and Integra. But no, I got no ambitions or no aspirations to do any better than what we're doing right now. Today's a bit rainy, and actually I think that's good because we've had 4 fine days, and this gives a bit more variety for the drivers to try. It's slippery out there.
I gathered from talking with the chase camera car that there have been a couple of moments.
Not really. My side of the car's always been on the road. The co-driver has a bit of problem keeping his side on the road, but mine's been fine.
In the end, Steve Millen manages to bring the Ford Falcon XR6 home second in class behind Anton Talent. There have been no offs and the cars run faultlessly.
Today wasn't the best day for the Falcon because the Falcon's a very heavy car, very stiff car, and handles great in the dry, but of course being two-wheel drive, it's not quite so good in the wet. And we were worried about all those four-wheel drive cars, the Skylines and the turbochargers and all that. But, you know, we did the best we could, and, you know, whatever happens, happens. But what a great event to be involved in. Just fantastic. It reminds me of the old days and the heatwave rallies and that. And, you know, every time I come back to New Zealand to come motor racing, it's just so much fun. It's just so much better than racing in America. You know, there's so many good guys in New Zealand, and that's what, you know, you kind of forget that. You come back and you think, oh, well, you'll run sort of 90% and do a good job, but you don't. You have to come back here and run 100% and get a reasonable result, because the guys are very, very good drivers and the cars are well prepared, and you have to chase it. You have to chase it from day one. It's been a strange day today because it's been so wet, but that's been another element in this whole deal, and that's what it's all about, you know. And I think it's just a great event. I think it has a great future, and there's a lot of potential for the manufacturers to get involved, and that's what needs to happen, is because they have a big opportunity to show how strong their cars are. Like the Falcon is a four-door family car, and we've shown that we can be reasonably competitive with a family car, and that's what all the other manufacturers should be doing, I think.
The Pit Stop Mechanical Report, and out on the final day, car 656 Bob Boniface in the Ford Sierra with a water pump problem. A head gasket was the problem in the Ford Escort twin cam, car number 339. And 612 John Dalton's MG Montego Turbo suffered lack of oil pressure to put him out on the final day. In the Turner's Car Auction Crash Report, Harvey Gray left the road in the wet again. Actually, he was one of the first to leave the road on the prologue day. He was one of the last on the last day of competition. Peter Clark put a 72 MGB through the fence and was rapidly followed by cars 408, 430 and 626, all through the same hole. Fortunately, they could share the expenses of repairing the fence. For the final Nava highlight for Targa, the prize goes to media-seeking racing Ray Williams, who spun out for the camera, but then dropped out of view so we couldn't see him. As always, there is no overall winner announced in the Dunlop Targa. The Tallets, though, take out first home in the contemporary section with the quickest time of any car in the event in the red Mazda RX-7. Peter Johnson and son Hayden are first home in modern in the MG Metro 6R4. The contemporary rally goes to Craig Coleman and Richard Scott in the Subaru Impreza STI. The popular winner in the classic section, Mark Parsons and Malcolm Clark in the spectacular TR7 V8. And the historic section goes to the Anglia of Craig Fraser and Richard Tohill. And for what it's worth, when you look at the 4 class winners like this, they represent the first 4 places in the overall stakes. If we were looking at overall places, but then we're not, are we? Final words for the 2001 Dunlop Targa New Zealand to the winner of the classic class, Mark Parsons, in the Trade Tools Triumph TR7 V8.
We've had a week of just thrashing our cars on these roads, and we've been able to enjoy that thoroughly. It's great. There's a whole lot of people behind us here, and they're all enjoying it. It's what Targa's all about.